All right, welcome all, thank you. Yeah, safe brother. Started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We don't have any, well, the only announcement that we have is I texted you all today to share with you the cybersecurity breach email that I sent to staff and out to parents. So far, I haven't heard anything in terms of questions or anything like that. So if I hear anything, or if and when I get more information, I will be sure to pass it along to Billy. Okay, so your first goal tonight that you're getting a report on is goal 1. Find it. That was, and that is not this one. That will be Creighton, and I think you're actually going first.
Sit up at that table up there. Okay. The hotspot.
Join us.
Unified basketball starts next week.
Wow. Nice plug there.
Partnering with North Marion.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Oh.
Good evening, everybody. I have been in front of you more than once. Sarah, is this
I
your
haven't.
first time?
So I'm Sarah, and nice to meet all of you. I'm the vice principal over at Jervis, which I know all of you, I think, voted for my job, so I really appreciate that. It's like, I have the job, so I want to thank all of you for supporting us this evening. And yeah, I'm Sarah Bradley, and I'm the new vice principal over at Jervis Elementary.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
I've been around enough. Some of you voted for it, but there's probably buyer's remorse. Goal 1, so this is our social emotional goal. There are 3 components to it. I'll speak to the first 2 and then Sarah will touch base on the 3rd element of it. So the first we reported out in November. We switched over to a new social emotional curriculum this year. It aligns pre-K through 12. Which is our first time that we've had a social emotional curriculum that spans all levels. And so performance indicator 1A and then our implementation measure was to create a scope and sequence document and then professional development plans for the implementation and then succession of that social emotional curriculum and how are we evaluating it as the year goes on. And so we were able to report out in November of 24 meeting that we did create that document. It was distributed, and to date, it has been rolled out with fidelity in all 3 buildings. So
Nice.
yeah. Number 2, indicator 1B. So assess the perception of belongingness among district students, staff, and community members. AMBD. Implement initiatives to, and I'm not going to admit it's a mistake. I'm just going to read it as initiatives to specifically address the results at the individual school and whole district levels. And so leveraging available tools such as DESA, Youth Truth, Helping Teen Survey, and the Belongingness Survey to basically evaluate what belongingness means. And that's kind of it's a hard thing to measure because that means different things to different people. And some people measure their own sense of belongingness by a high level of engagement, whereas some people may measure their sense of belongingness that they are just involved exactly how they want to be, and that may not be involved in it to any great degree, but to them that's completely satisfactory. And so we can't really look at an objective measurement tool as kind of a one size fits all. And so I have access now to the Youth Truth data, K-12, which I'm going to be looking at real soon. And then the next slide is and it's a snapshot of part of the actual school belongingness survey that's being implemented. It was rolled out today in advisory at the high school. The middle school will be rolling it out soon. At the elementary school, grades 3 through 5 will take this on their own. Grades K through 2 will be assisted by their teacher on how they can kind of fill this out, maybe more as a whole class, thumbs up, thumbs down. How do you feel about those kind of things? And then we'll just kind of aggregate that data. And the idea is, once we can pool all of this data together, to sit down with the entire counseling team to say, this is what we believe the data is telling us in terms of belongingness at that 30,000-foot level. This is what it seems to be at the elementary level. This is what it seems to be at the middle school level, seems to be at the high school level. And then with the counseling team, come up, and we're going to go through this relatively quickly, but come up with some things that we can do for the second semester, propose to the building administrators to say, here's some initiatives that we would like to do to try and increase that sense of belongingness kind of corporately, but also individually if needed. We had recently written and received a $100,000 grant from the Willamette Health Council. And part of that is going to address substance abuse prevention and awareness 6 through 12. But just like every grant that I write, it's kind of a yes and. So we can do substance abuse awareness and a couple of things with it. As long as we stay in our lane here, like we're okay over here. So we're going to use some of those grant funds to help support some of these initiatives at the different schools to really, help with this, trying to evaluate and increase a sense of belongingness. And again, like it can definitely be at a whole school level. It can be at an individual grade level. We can break it down a number of different ways. And just like we've done in other situations, like if we can identify something to do for an individual student, like we'll do that for an individual student, because if we can increase single student's sense of belongingness, like that matters. That can change their trajectory. And that's worth it. So we're really going to dig into all of this and really try to figure it out. And again, it's squishy data, but the counselors are incredibly competent and passionate people. And so we'll figure that out.
So is that something that you're gonna like reevaluate like at the end of the year again to see like the progress?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
yes, I think we won't be able to, from like the youth truth data and those, we won't be able to touch those until
Right.
that's given again. But this survey is 10 questions and it's relatively quick. We'll use youth truth in this to also try to evaluate it from a staff perspective. We'll see how we can get this from a community parent perspective. We definitely got some of that through the youth truth data already, but we might do some more very specific stuff. And maybe just piggyback it on some of the other events we already have scheduled with the community throughout the spring semester, and just offer opportunities to do that survey when they come in and just kind of organically collect it and evaluate it. But the answer would be yes, that we would love to be able to kind of do a before and after, but then not end it at the end of the 24-25 school year, but use this as a tool of because I just, from a personal perspective, think that belongingness is such an incredible indicator of so many other things that are happening at the school level.
I'm off my slides. Performance indicator 1C, prioritize efficacy in the referral, staffing, and 360-degree communication process of the behavioral support team, BST. So all members of an individual student support network are empowered to assist students in their social, emotional, behavioral journey. So when I thought about BST and what that looks like as we leave meetings, my first BST meeting, I left thinking what it was a great meeting, and I learned a lot, and I learned about names, predominantly about who all the people were around the table. But it was like, what do we do with this information, and how do we make sure that as we move back into our school, that all the stakeholders are being notified, and how do we do this for like a process and a routine, so that every week we're going back to doing the same thing over and over. And so the counselor, Julie Schnell, who's an amazing new hire for our district, and Jerry is part of that team at the elementary level as well. He works an abbreviated day, so we debrief in the student services center. before we leave, and then as Julie and I walk back, we're debriefing about, what the next step is. I feverishly take notes during the BST meetings, and then during the debrief with Jerry and Julie in this building, we kind of decide what the next steps are and who's going to be in charge of taking what on for each child. And so depending on what that is, we then go back to school. And Power School has been a database that we use to make sure that students we're putting things in Power School so that anybody can access if a child's been worked with or talked to, or if we've contacted a parent. So that's one of the many ways that we do this. Another way that we've thought about this is it's kind of like going back to the source. So the child has been referred to BST during care team, for example, which is our elementary school's team of individuals that get together when there is an academic or behavioral concern. If the referral originated at care team, then there's a care team notes kind of watch list, and we put whatever we've discussed at BST, we update the watch list there so that there is an update in that system, and then also have a conversation with I see Cindy and Stephanie as kind of the leaders of that team, and so making sure that we were touching base with both Cindy and Stephanie. And then let's say that the referral started with the teacher. So then, of course, we're going back to the teacher and having that conversation. Or sometimes when we're in BST on Tuesday, I'm automatically sending an email right as things are happening in that meeting to kind of get the chain going of correspondence with Jeannie from WESD sitting right there. And so we kind of have that captive audience. And one of the pieces of feedback just by happenstance today, I happened to be talking to a kindergarten teacher of ours where there's been a tricky student that we've had. And she said, I just want to thank you for, I feel like BST and the efficiency of the communication this year has been really smooth. And she said, I feel like it's been swift. Her words were swift, efficient, and fast tracked. And she said, I feel like the whole school is behind me. So just her feeling like that this year it's working a little bit smoother than it has in the past. She said it's enabled her to feel more relaxed in the classroom and more present in the classroom. And it's enabled the student to have routines and procedures that are helping her find success. And that's all been within the last week, where we brought a student forward to BST, and Jeannie from WSD was amazing. And then also our counselor was amazing. And I jumped in there and we kind of showered this teacher with a lot of support and the student with a lot of support. And we're finding a lot of success with that. So that was just it by happenstance. She was in my office today. And then of course, another large stakeholder that isn't part of BST, but very much a part of my team and who I work with daily is Dusty. And so making sure that he is updated with anything that would be coming from BST that would be pivotal to our next steps. We have student trackers. So sometimes the data goes on a student tracker. If a student has a tracker that we're kind of keeping daily notes on what's kind of happening with that student, the feedback goes there. And then of course, if parents are another stakeholder in the system, we're always making sure that as admin, we're reaching out to parents for communicating what's happening with their child. It has already been communicated before that child's come to BST, but we're looping back and letting that parent know what our next steps are after our BST meeting. So that is how it works at Jervis Elementary.
BST students, how many of you are on your watch
that
are
coming through this? That's
Yes.
a great question. For elementary, it's usually middle school. Maybe I keep track predominantly more of elementary as I'm in that, but
building.
yeah, it's usually 2 to 3 per week, sometimes 2, sometimes 1, sometimes it's a follow-up. So like, let's say we've taken information back to a teacher or a team at Jervis, and we've worked with the teacher and the student, and it just isn't quite hitting the way we thought it would. Then we bring them back up to BST and say, well, we tried these things. Does anybody else have any further suggestions? Because this doesn't seem to be working. And so I've learned a lot about the community and the closeness of the community. A lot of people are like, oh, we've worked with this family for years, and this is kind of what has happened and worked, and maybe we've tried. And so sometimes students are regular students because, you know, they've come back up, but they're not necessarily new. So it just really depends week to week. But I'd say for the last few weeks, it's been a couple. Sometimes it's 3. But it isn't a large number. It's manageable. Yeah.
I'd say one thing that is absolutely a priority that we hit at 100% success rate is that we always staff the exact week that the referral comes in. So within a calendar week of a referral coming in, the BST will staff that Tuesday. So there's never a scenario where it's more than 5 school days from when that referral goes in to when the counseling team is talking about that student. I would say that's probably not common.
And again, on the referrals, and teachers, other students, who can bring up a referral on a student and things there? Why, and can anybody in the school system?
Teachers can.
Yep.
Care team, which is kind of a conglomeration made up of teachers and specialists. I can, Dusty can.
I mean,
The counselors
Yeah.
is, let's see, Jerry, so a school social worker.
the link is available and
Yeah,
we don't necessarily try to, so any adult theoretically can. We don't necessarily try to gatekeep the process, but we definitely try to, when a referral comes in, somebody on that school's level BST team will take a look at it to make sure, is this something we should be staffing, or have we even tried to deal with this at the school level before we're bringing it at the district level?
Okay.
So, but, you know, not gatekeeping it, but just about any adult can submit a referral, and then the counselors are really quick to jump on it and say, yep, we're gonna talk about that on Tuesday, or,
Or they already know about it.
yeah, we already know about
That's
this.
really more.
Yeah,
Or,
so
you
they
know,
not a
already know
surprise
about the
ever.
person and things like that.
Yes.
So, okay.
We've known about the family and we've known about the child, because for us to bring forward something, the parent needs to be notified too. So we've talked as a team
Right.
before it comes to BSC. I've never been surprised when a name's brought up at BSC. It's like, yep, here we are.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
I think, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on to goal 2. They'll be nice too, I promise.
Good evening, everybody. So, goal number 2, which is all about equity. It's the equity goal. So cultivating equity by honoring diversity using inclusive practices and supporting students to achieve their unique potential. Members of this team are myself, Fenya, Mercedes, a teacher at the elementary school, Jerry, elementary school counselor, Sandra, who's sitting right over there, Dusty, and Adelita, who's joining us tonight. Adelita, you want to introduce yourself?
I am Adelita Ruiz. I am an EOB instructional assistant and as well as part of the equity team for Jervis School District.
And you're at the high school.
And I'm at the high school.
Yeah. And so we meet the first Wednesday of every month at 9:30. The last 2 or 3 years, we're trying to get more people to join. I mean, it's kind of like an open door. If you want to come, come. It's hard for teachers because they're teaching at that time, but anyway, yeah. So performance indicator 2A is to educate students, staff, and families about the rich history and diverse culture of Jervis, et cetera, et cetera. So our implementation measure for this one was each building was going to incorporate the shared vision of We Are Jervis in a beginning of the school year assembly, which we did at in-service. And then we're also going to produce 4 student videos throughout the year. We did the same thing last year. Raul helped with that work. So we don't have Raul anymore. He did a great job with it. So now we're trying to meet the bar.
The bar was set.
Yeah, it was set. We said November, January, March, and May, and then share it out with the community. We did not hit the mark on November, but we hit the mark on January.
Well, good job.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're aiming for that B and C on that so far. So we have produced a video for Jervis High School so far, which we'll share with you. We already have 2 students lined up for the middle school. And elementary is working on it at the moment, trying to find out who they want to interview. But the plan is to publish it in the community newsletter, website, social media, share with staff, share with students and advisory, everybody.
Andrew, just, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it just occurred to me that you guys could use Kelly Bledsoe,
Right.
our ESD, and she could get the videographer out here from the ESD to help you with this.
Okay,
So.
okay.
Snap, snap, snap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that'd be great. So I can maybe send her what I've created.
Mhm.
And she could
Yes.
make it look pretty. So these are some of the questions
Bar.
we're keeping,
Yeah, you haven't seen
No, yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg.
Agreeing to it, so I had thought.
We're keeping the same format and same questions for all the videos. We want it to be the same thing. So here are some of the questions we're asking students. Tell us about how your family, and how you came to live in Jervis. What's the best part of going to school in Jervis? What do you most appreciate about the staff? What do you love about our community, and what do you wish people knew about Jervis? So this is the video that we did with Mariela Benavides, senior at the high school.
I play it.
Yep. There's volume. Yeah. So it's raw footage. Look at it as raw.
No, it's good.
But we're trying to figure out how can we make this better? What do we want to tweak?
Maybe
We
have
did,
volume up a little bit more.
yeah,
That's
well,
my issue.
yeah,
Is-
I think it's.
No, no, we're gonna blame him. He
Oh,
did- he did-
Yeah.
Yeah, a bar.
There is a little like subtle background music, but anyway. We are trying, you couldn't really hear it that much, but yeah. But we're trying to figure out, I mean, Raul did such a good job. This is literally 30 minutes that it took me to put that together. So when we spend more time on it, it'll hopefully be more well produced. I love.
Yeah, Kelly can take care of all of that for you guys. So,
And we want to get like some stock footage of, Mariella at her locker, walking down the hallway, things like that, just to make it seem more organic and like, okay, we are Jervis, great. So same thing for middle school, elementary, and then we're gonna push them out, which I think it'll be cool. So next steps for that measurement is we need to complete the elementary, middle school videos, push it out. And then also we have talked with the bond work about possibly having each one of the lobbies have some kind of sign or banner that says we are Jervis. With the same font and everything. So that's like a thing that we have.
Okay, I'm up. Performance indicator 2B. The GSD equity team will train all district staff to use the GSD equity lens and facilitate its use in various district and building decision-making teams. So the implementation of Measure 2B. The GSD equity team will train staff during in-service week, which is in August, to use the GSD equity lens and will then facilitate its uses in 3 different decision-making teams in each building by November 1st, 2024, February 7th, 2025, and May 2nd, 2025. So I'll start with the GHS. So GHS, the decision-making teams are chosen for athletics, PLC, and attendance. And for GHS athletics and attendance, they're going to go ahead and step back and consider if all the policies and procedures are equitable. In mentor meetings with struggling students to understand underlying issues, asking same questions to at attendance meetings for equity, and to also ensure that all athletes can participate at no cost, equipment provided, and travel and accommodations included.
So those are things, I kind of touched base with Doug and Julie about the attendance and athletic pieces, and that I was like, so tell me how we're using it. That's what they're like, this is what we're doing. Like we have pulled it out, and we have used it. So that's high school mostly. Right now it's attendance and athletics for the most part, PLCs a little bit. We're gonna do better about that going forward, so.
The next is GMS. So at GMS, it's site council attendance and BST. And it says GMS at BST team asked that the equity lens be available every time on the table. BST already does a lot of equity work, but the lens exposes some blind spots. They did not need a facilitator because the team is familiar with this work. And for GES, excuse me, Student Recognition Committee, grade level PLC and attendance. And at GES, elementary school, at Student Recognition Committee, the facilitator helped group stay on task in answering questions from the equity lens.
So next steps for this one is just incorporating the equity lens in more staff groups for the most part, not just athletics, attendance, PLCs. We need to pull it out all the time. I mean, we can do a lot more with it. And we also need to take it a step further and actually assign equity coaches. So we can take a piece of paper and say, hey, here's the lens. Go use that thing. You know what I mean? In your discussion. But we found that it's going to be more valuable if we have somebody like myself, Adelita, Dusty, Sandra, maybe not Sandra because she's not going to be there, but somebody on the equity team that can help facilitate and sit there and listen to the discussions and say, okay, are we paying attention to this too as we're doing this work? Which is gonna need to involve more people being a part of the equity. You know, because right now we don't have enough representation, honestly, from all 3 of the buildings. You and I are the only ones from the high school. So yeah, so it's just trying to get more people on board. So that's where we're at.
And can I just mention something? There are a lot of other staff members that are interested in being a part of the equity team. But one thing that I haven't told Mr. Amen yet is Andrea is the time that we're meeting at, Wednesday mornings. I mean, teachers, there's a few teachers I've talked to, hey, they're really interested in it, but how can they be there when they're, who's gonna take care of their class then at that time? So maybe finding more equitable time to meet would be, but that would have to be, us talking or, engaging, I don't know.
It gets hard with teachers because, they're busy 8 to 3. And so to find that time, it's either got to be Wednesdays, early release, when we already have stuff going on most of the time. Before school, 7:30 to 8. I don't like pushing that time on anybody, or it's after school. So.
And how long are your meetings usually?
About 30 minutes. Yeah. Sometimes longer, but everyone on the committee, they don't have to be in a classroom, so it's easier. All right. And then 2C, the Jervis School District Welcome Center will help new students and families to communicate their story. So the implementation measure is that we would do an intake interview process that would help students and families share important information about them with the building staff. So we can get to know students better when they come into the district. And then review this new intake process with involved district and building staff and make any adjustments as needed. This is happening. One of the things, last time we met, or I think last time I reported to you guys, the information from the Welcome Center, the intake process, the questionnaire, wasn't necessarily getting distributed, streamlined throughout all the buildings. That is happening now. So all office managers, counselors, whoever it may be, are getting that information. And then I think it's a little different in each building on what we're doing with it. I know at the high school, Becky Miller gets the intake questionnaire, she reads it. And then, you know, if there's red flags or if there's anything anybody else needs to know, it's getting disseminated on everyone else. Which is really valuable. I mean, it's been really valuable asking questions. It's not just, hey, you came from North Marion and here's your transcript. Great, welcome. It's more of a, what do you need? Like, who are you? What's your life like? And all that kind of thing. Next steps we want to do for this is to kind of just have kind of the same process, elementary, middle, and high, on how we're doing this. Like, who should receive the information? How do we streamline this? One thing we also talked about is, like, maybe, I'm just gonna use the high school as an example. Maybe Becky gets the questionnaire. Andrea, our counselor, always does a walkthrough of the building, right? And gives the tour for the new student. And she also gets a copy of that questionnaire, so she can then sit down and ask further questions. Because she's the counselor, she gets to know the family a little bit more, spending 15-20 minutes with them. She can ask further questions like, okay, so tell me a little bit more about this. You put NA on all 5 questions, all right. Because we've seen that. You know what I mean? So not just having it done at the Welcome Center, but taking it a step further in the buildings. So, yeah.
No, I just wanted to mention that we also discussed during the equity team that we want it to be more of a conversation and have active, you know, we're going to be active listeners when we're not just, you know, a question and answer, you know, we want them to feel welcomed and, you know, maybe they're going to answer some of these questions within the conversation that we're having with them. And we don't even necessarily have to ask that question or, you know, and also providing the information maybe even before they come to the Welcome Center, so then they're prepared. Because I know that I wouldn't want to go some of these questions. Oh, I think I should have gotten this the night before and I would have had, you know, a little bit extra time. So sending that out with them or whenever they're, you know, connecting with the Welcome Center. So then they have that time to, you know, actually think about it and talk to their family or maybe their student, you know. Yeah.
So general next steps for the entire goal is, and I'm just going to read this verbatim because we wrote it down in our meeting. The uses of the GST equity lens may initially be very mechanical, but will hopefully become more organic and intuitive as we begin to change our way of thinking and how we do things. Our hope is staff eventually don't need to read from the lens, but have it in the back of their brains, just naturally as they go through everything that we do. And we also want to use the equity lens when we're reviewing our Youth Truth data this year.
One of the things that came up, like for instance, in the youth truth data that I looked at 2 days ago, was that there was an uptick in our middle school students who had no access to a computer this year compared to last year. And so that made me wonder, okay, well, how many of them are struggling and have a bad attitude about their homework or classwork because it's such a barrier to try to get online to get what they need. So, you know, equity is about asking the question, what does everybody need to get their education? And so I just think we're doing really great work. The district is really ahead of the game.
Is it compared to last year? Because last year they had Chromebooks?
I
all
think
of them?
so. Yeah, I think there was more Chromebooks accessible. They were checking them out and things like that where, you know, so maybe then the question is, do I offer a Saturday school that's anybody can come in? You don't have to, it's not a punishment. It's hey, from 10 to 2, I really need to have a Chromebook and a place to study because for whatever reason I don't have one. And
Was it on their, was it like internet and Chromebook or just Chromebook? Or?
it was a combination of both device and internet. So, yeah, it would not be surprising though, considering the economy for some of our families. And costs.
Right.
I got one more slide real quick. I will not be at the board meeting next week. I will be in Oklahoma. I don't know if I'd rather be in Jervis or Oklahoma. My brother lives there, so anyway, we're doing a family trip. So this is just some blurbs, just about what's coming up at the high school. January is kind of that time where you start having half of your brain in the next school year, right? And so it's like planning time. So we're currently reviewing Youth Truth data. We've already met with the Youth Truth people, but we're taking it a step further. We're gonna form some student focus groups specifically with our juniors because they were relatively negative on a lot of things. We're doing final meetings with seniors, then freshmen, then juniors, then sophomores for kids that have been struggling. This will be the third round of meetings that we've had with those kids. We're getting ready for finals, which will be January 29th and 30th, end of the semester. Still doing the professional learning community work with the teachers, looking at attendance, current grades, credits earned. We'll do that again for the third time next week. We're applying interventions as best we can. That's the hardest part of that work, is how do we get to this? And continuing conversations with staff about what is rigor and what is engagement, which we'll do all year long, which have been really rich conversations we've been having. We're at the very beginning stages of master scheduling for next year. The WACA, William Career Academy EMT program recruitment will start. I'll be in the next two. I'm looking at Jenny a little bit, probably next February, March, but we're getting that planning going. Planning for 8th grade transition is going to be starting soon with Tony and I. State testing is gearing up. Mr. Poff, our PAWS teacher, is guiding all that, working with Bonnie on that too. And I put summer school question mark because it's on the way back burner for now.
Strike the last bullet.
Yeah. That's what we got. I want to say happy School Board Appreciation Month. To you guys.
This one?
Yes.
But I won't be here next week, but yeah. But thank you guys for all you do. You guys are awesome. Adelie was nervous and I was like, don't be nervous.
You did a great job.
Once I got up here, I wasn't so nervous.
Yeah.
So I think so.
You guys have any questions?
Thank you.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Have fun next week.
Yep.
It's snowing, I hear.
Oh.
I had one guy was in Denver today and he's like, yeah, he's like Denver. I don't know if you're going through Denver, but he's like, my flight was a little bit delayed, but coming, he.
We're going through Salt Lake.
Okay.
We got fires in LA and we got snow.
Tulsa anyway. Don't make it to Oklahoma. Fun.
Okay, so for goal 3 and 4, I'm the person that's reporting on that tonight. I don't really have anything prepared for goal 4 because it's all about the bond and the project, and I report that ad nauseum, so there's no questions about what's going on there. Goal 3 is linking the district's preschool through grade 12 curriculum to state standards. Like to apply the best instructional strategies and use assessments to measure student progress and adjust instruction. See the people responsible for that goal. It's a wide range of people. So this slide is a little difficult to see, so I also printed it out for you. And what I did is I asked Bonnie to kind of give me a summary of the things that she's accomplished. So, you know, we have our teaching and learning website that has all of our courses with the scope and sequence. And anytime we adopt a new curriculum, then we have to pull down the old scope and sequence and redo it and post that. So it's constantly being revised. And this last summer, we did science and SEL. So Bonnie is finalizing the formatting of that and it will be posted soon, right? Second semester. And then in the fall of 2025, we'll have health because that's the adoption that we're in for this year, and social studies in the fall of 2026. So one thing that has been helpful is that ODE coincides new adoptions along with the defining new state standards. And so it's becoming more seamless and a more natural progression for districts. Bonnie has met with Creighton and Elizabeth, the teacher at the preschool program, and provided them with the template of what the scope and sequence for preschoolers should look like. So that they're ready to go into kindergarten. And so they're working on that. And that should be published here by the end of the year. And, Bonnie, continues to address any questions teachers might have with regard to scope and sequence and what does ODE really mean and how do I teach all these standards? There's not enough time and, I need help, professional development. So it's been a real benefit to have, that position funded out of SIA. The next goal 3B or performance indicator is implementing grade aligned races, which is a strategy. It's an instructional strategy. So we decided that we'd look at races, restate, answer, cite, explain, and summarize, and apply it with a K-12 lens. And that what races at a kindergarten level looks very different than at a senior level. But it's something that as we're implementing it district-wide for multiple years, kids will become more familiar with, oh, I've been expected to restate what I read since I was a kindergartner. So now I'm a 10th grader, it should be,
Seamless.
one would hope. And so the measure is that we are, I have feedback in the document that's got some highlighted feedback from teachers and what they're doing at each level. That's for elementary school. Back at the middle school, they've been implementing race plus the sum up, so they get all of this information. And then how do I summarize it, both verbally and in written form? So we're really working on those ELD concepts for our kids. And then at the high school, then they're also using APA or MLA to learn how to defend what they're stating and summarizing. And so the elementary school, you've got the handout. And what I did is I highlighted some things that I thought were interesting. Okay, just literally got it this week. And so some things that there's some common themes that you're hearing. You heard it with the first goal and the second goal, it's time.
Mhm.
They do not have enough time to do all of these things that we're asking them to do. So it's our jobs as administrators to figure out how to create time out of no time.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and also teachers are asking for more training, like they want more examples of how do I teach this at the kindergarten level? At the 4th grade level, I need more examples. I don't know where to go. And you'll notice that in here, one of them said, teachers pay teachers. We do not want them using teachers pay teachers, so that kind of made my eye twitch. The idea is that we have the curriculum, it is in there, but they probably haven't had time to really dig into the curriculum, even though we provide training and multiple professional development opportunities with the publisher. So continue to hit that. During the summertime, I really need the teachers to spend time doing this in a guided way. I've offered a time card every time. I will continue to offer a time card. You'll recall that we tried to negotiate 4 extra contract days that were not student contact days that would have addressed these kinds of things, and they said, no, thank you. So I will continue to bring that up in bargaining to try to get them more time. So, but overall, I thought there were some really great comments about the things that they're learning and the idea of rigor and engagement, which ties into part of this goal as well in terms of Danielson and what we're looking at. So this is just a sample of what races looks like at the middle school. It's in your packet as well. It's very guided, but it gives kids something tactile to hang on to so that when they're asked to do it on their own, they can refer back, oh, remember that paper you filled out about plastic straws? It's similar to this. And then at the high school, I gave you some specific feedback from the core teachers and how they're using strategies and tying it to citations and research. So that's also in your packet. And then 3C, we have the adopted diagnostic programs. So that would be your Alex and iReady. I just had Bonnie pull the first semester because I had her do it from September until we went to winter break to look to see if they're implementing it with fidelity and how kids are interacting and engaging with it. And so I think what administrators are trying to nail down is how do we again get teachers to establish routines and carve out time? Like they feel so pressured to cover so much. And so our job is to support them with the idea of how can we work smarter? Because I don't think you can work any harder. It cannot work any harder. So let's use these tools that we have that will do the diagnostic and the assessment and identifying the weak areas. And so that we can really target your instruction. So I'm going to dive in with the administrators on the number of hours and times being used for these programs, because it's not just a diagnostic. iReady is not just telling me where is the student at grade level wise, but then it also creates a platform or a personalized learning platform where then I get into it as a student and I can improve my skills. And so I also think teachers, based on what I'm reading in the elementary, don't have time to then go in and tweak each of those programs for kids so that you're getting what you need and Henry has something different and takes a lot of time. So we will figure that out. Then, of course, we continue to focus on Danielson. So working with administrators about making sure we're all on the common ground, that we all understand what proficient looks like. We understand what student engagement looks like versus a teacher telling the kid just regurgitating something, but it's really student driven, student interest, student generated. And getting teachers to come to agreements. What does rigor and engagement look like? It's not, I just assigned a 500-page book that you have to read and, create a 4-page paper. That's not necessarily rigorous or engaging, right? We need to have a common definition and explaining that to our students. So that is an ongoing process. Any questions about goal 3? Like I said, we're going to have some more detailed information for you with regard to Youth Truth and what's going on, as well as our state testing. I mean, the state testing, some of it, the scores are pretty disappointing. But what I'm trying to do is dive down into it in terms of not just the state testing, but how are our kids doing in iReady and Alex, so that we have a full picture. Because really, especially at the high school level, students have no motivation to take state assessment seriously because there's no consequence tied to it, not passing it. And so why would they take a test seriously that they're not going to see any results on, or it doesn't matter. So we have to kind of figure out how to get over that. But I'm really proud of what our teachers and our administrators are doing. I think they continue to do really great work. The survey results with Youth Truth, we had better participation in parents than we've ever had So we finally are getting some statistically significant data to be able to understand what they're saying and what they like, and they love us. They love the school. They believe their kids are getting a good education. The kids believe they're getting a good education. So I think it's all going in the right trajectory. Right.
That's positive.
Yeah. So that's it for the strategic plan. I think if there are no other questions, you're ready to go to executive session. And the verbiage for that, Henry, is at the bottom. It might be the top of the,
Right here, right?
yeah, there it is.
All right, so, we're gonna go out of regular session right now and then,